The drawer resisted when I pulled it, sliding forward only after a sharp tug. Inside were the things I hadn't touched since the funeral: piles of receipts, a couple of postcards Daniel had once kept, and a small leather-bound notebook. The notebook looked ordinary, but I knew it by heart. It had been his. I carried it to the kitchen table, the one where we used to sit every morning with our coffee. The leather cover felt stiff under my hands, and I hesitated before opening it. It had been almost a year since I lost him, and even now, the idea of flipping through his handwriting felt like stepping into a room I no longer belonged to. Still, I opened it. The page fell open naturally, and my eyes caught on the top right corner. The numbers written there made my breath lodge in my chest. The date. Today's date. I blinked, leaned closer, and ran my finger across the indentation of the pen. The ink was fresh. My body went rigid. Daniel's handwriting. I knew it instantly. The clean, angled strokes. The slight hesitation in his capital NS. I had watched him write 1,000 times: grocery lists, quick reminders, the notes he would leave me on the counter when he left for work. This was his. It couldn't be faked, not in this exact way. But I buried him last year. I stood by his coffin. I watched the earth cover it. The words themselves were brief, almost hurried. Nora, don't trust what you're told. Look deeper. I read it once. Twice. A third time, my hands trembling so badly the notebook nearly slipped from my grip. I whispered, Daniel, like it might bring him back. The room gave nothing in return, just the faint hum of the refrigerator and the steady tick of the wall clock. I pressed the page between my fingers, half expecting the ink to smear. It didn't. The lines were firm, solid, recent. My mind raced. Someone could have broken in. Someone could have known how Daniel wrote. But who would do that, and why now, after almost a year of silence? The air in the kitchen felt suddenly colder. I closed the notebook but kept my hand pressed on the cover, as if letting go would make the message disappear. I should have felt comfort, a piece of him reaching out across time. Instead, dread coiled tight in my stomach. Because there was only one question that mattered now. If Daniel is gone, then who just wrote me this note? I didn't sleep that night. The notebook stayed on the table, its leather cover shut but its weight pressing on me like a stone. By morning, my eyes burned from staring at the ceiling, waiting for an explanation to fall into place. The first thing I did was compare the handwriting. I had kept a box of old letters Daniel had written me when we were younger, folded neatly inside a tin container. I spread them across the table, side by side with the new note. Every curve, every hesitation in the ink, it was identical. This wasn't an imitation. Whoever had written this had Daniel's exact hand. But that answer opened a darker possibility. If it wasn't forged, then it had to be written before he died. Could he have left messages for me, hidden in his things, waiting to be found later? I searched the notebook, flipping through each page. Most of it was blank. A few random notes from years ago, a list of errands, a calculation, a reminder about his mother's birthday. But nothing else recent. Nothing except the single page dated today. I checked the back cover, the binding, the paper edges. Clean. No signs of tampering. I sat back in my chair, clutching my coffee like it might keep me upright. If Daniel had somehow written this in advance, how could he have known the exact date I would find it? My stomach tightened. This wasn't just about handwriting anymore. Someone wanted me to see this now. The thought made me uneasy enough to check the locks on the doors, the windows, even the garage. Everything was shut tight. Still, the idea that someone might have been in my home while I slept wouldn't leave me. Later that afternoon, I drove to the cemetery. Daniel's grave was just as I remembered it, the stone simple, his name carved deep into the granite. I brushed my hand over the letters and whispered, "What are you trying to tell me?" The silence of the place didn't answer back. As I turned to leave, I noticed a woman standing 2 rows away, watching me. She was dressed in a navy coat, her hands buried in her pockets. When our eyes met, she didn't look away. Instead, she nodded slightly, like she was acknowledging something, and then walked off before I could say a word. I froze at the path's edge, my pulse hammering. Had she been waiting for me? And the bigger question now burned brighter than the first. Was Daniel's death a lie? And was she the one who knew the truth? The image of the woman in the navy coat followed me home. I replayed the moment, her steady stare, the deliberate nod, the way she walked off as if she had accomplished what she came for. 2 days later, I saw her again. This time, at the grocery store. She was by the produce aisle, examining apples with a kind of casualness that didn't match the way my pulse spiked when I recognized her. I didn't wait. I approached. "Why were you at the cemetery?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. She looked at me calmly, almost as if she expected the question. "You're Nora." The fact that she knew my name chilled me. "Who are you?" Her eyes flicked around the store before she leaned closer. "Not here." She slipped a folded paper into my hand, then walked away without another word. I didn't open it until I was back in my car, doors locked. The paper held an address, scribbled in quick handwriting. No explanation, no name. Just a place. That night, against all better judgment, I went. The address led me to a small house on the edge of town. The porch light was dim, the curtains drawn. When I knocked, the door opened immediately, as if she had been waiting. Inside, the woman gestured for me to sit. "My name is Claire," she said. Her tone was calm, but there was urgency underneath it. "I worked with Daniel." My breath caught. Worked with him? Doing what? She hesitated, studying me like she was deciding how much truth I could handle. Finally, she said, "He wasn't who you thought he was. His death, it was arranged." The words hollowed out my chest. Arranged. Claire nodded. He had debts. Dangerous ones. Faking his death was the only way out. He left instructions with people he trusted. That's how the note reached you. I shook my head, anger and disbelief twisting inside me. He let me bury him. He let me mourn him. Her voice softened, but it didn't offer comfort. He thought it was safer for you not to know. I stared at her, heart pounding, my world tilting with every second. If Daniel was alive somewhere, then everything, my grief, my healing, my life this past year, was built on a lie. But before I could ask more, Claire leaned closer, her eyes sharp. "The question now isn't whether Daniel is alive." She paused, lowering her voice. "It's whether you're safe knowing that he is." Claire's words stayed with me. It's whether you're safe knowing that he is. That night, I barely touched dinner. I sat at the table staring at the notebook, the single page that had shattered my reality. If Daniel had arranged his death, then every moment of grief I carried had been manipulated. He had chosen to leave me, not fate. The next day, I decided I couldn't live with half-truths. I drove back to Claire's house, demanding answers. She opened the door like she had been expecting me again. "You want to see him," she said flatly. I froze. She didn't phrase it as a question. My silence was enough of an answer. She led me into the living room and handed me a phone. On the screen was a single number saved under Daniel. My chest tightened. My finger hovered over the call button. I pressed it. The line clicked, then a voice I hadn't heard in almost a year said my name. Nora. It was him. Alive. Breathing. Speaking. I couldn't form words at first. My throat burned with fury and disbelief. "Why?" I finally managed. "Why would you do this to me?" There was a long pause before he answered. "I thought I was protecting you. They wanted me dead. This way, you were safe." I clenched the phone, my hand trembling. "You didn't protect me. You destroyed me. You let me bury you, Daniel. You let me live a lie." His voice cracked. I had no choice. I looked at Claire, who stood silently in the corner, her expression unreadable. In that moment, clarity hit me. Daniel might have convinced himself he had no choice, but he had made one: to disappear, to deceive, to leave me drowning in grief without explanation. And suddenly, I knew I didn't want him back. I lifted the phone again. "You had a choice," I said, my voice steady now. "And so do I. Goodbye, Daniel." I ended the call before he could answer. The silence after was heavy, but for the first time in a long time, it wasn't unbearable. I handed Claire the phone. "He's not my problem anymore." She studied me, then gave a small nod. "That's the safest choice." Driving home, I felt the weight in my chest loosen. The man I thought I loved had betrayed me in the deepest way possible, not by dying, but by pretending to. He chose lies over honesty, disappearance over trust. And in doing so, he set me free. I walked into my house, the notebook still on the table. I picked it up, tore out the page with today's date, and fed it to the flame of a candle. The ink curled into ash. For once, I didn't feel like I was losing him again. I felt like I was reclaiming myself. And as I stood there, watching the paper burn, one thought settled deep in me. Daniel might still be out there. But so was I. And this time, my life belonged to me.